discuss, go over matters that are for public safety, matters that help improve the public industry, Father. Just pray for wisdom, for your guidance, Father, for your hand to be among us. Be with those who are affected by, still affected by the hurricane, probably in the Houston area, who are still dealing with the aftermath. And Father, we just pray that you would help them to recover quickly and safely. In your name, for these things. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. It's 1 minute after 10. I'd like to call the July 18th meeting of the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners to order. Dawn, would you mind calling the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. James Ainsworth,
Here.
Mr. Darren Black,
Here.
Mr. Milton Gutierrez,
Here.
Mr. William Clark,
Here.
Mr. Thomas McDonald,
Here.
Mr. Thomas Rice, Ms. Norma Yato,
Here. Here.
Mr. Dave Yelovich, and Mr. Frank Dunn.
Present.
We have a quorum?
All right, thank you very much. A quorum. Dave Yelovich contacted us yesterday and he is sick and unable to attend. Mr. Rice is traveling out of state today and unable to attend our meeting. And we have a couple that I think are going to have to leave after lunch. Bill's gonna be leaving us after lunch, as well as Ms. Yada is gonna have to leave after lunch. So I say that to the remaining board members. I need you worse than a dead man needs a coffin. So don't leave, because we're gonna be down to a minimum on a quorum. So, so as best you can, stay with us, knowing that we've got two absent, and two that are gonna have to leave after lunch. With that being said, is there a motion to approve the absence of Dave Yelovich and Tommy Rice?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Under item number 5, chairman's remarks, I'm gonna make it as brief as I'm capable of making it brief. Just to kind of give you an idea of how our meeting time-wise is gonna go today. I hope to get to a point of adjourning for lunch at 11:45. And the reason being, we're gonna have an executive session today. So rather than making everyone wait, put it on pause, we're gonna do it during the noon hour. We'll eat and meet at the same time in our conference room here. So we hope to break for 11:45 for that. And then we'll come back together maybe 12:45, 1 o'clock and conduct the remainder of our business. Since our last meeting, which was, I think, what did we decide? Kevin, was early May? Was our last meeting? We've had 2 additional town hall meetings, one in Fort Worth. Darren and Ron both attended those meetings and they were well attended. Got some really good feedback. We did one in Fort Worth the first night and then moved over to Dallas. Maybe we're at Plano for the Dallas meeting, the second. Grand Prairie, that's what it was. So we had a nice turnout, typical, maybe 50, 60 people. Got some great questions, good comments, feedbacks. Between the 2 meetings, I participated in a podcast with Roger Wakefield. And for those of you who have insomnia, it's 1 hour and 9 minutes long. But I will say this, I thought Roger did a nice job of covering the past, present, and future of the plumbing business. So I thought he did a pretty good job of covering the full gamut of where we have been the last 2 or 3, 4 years. So, so if you have insomnia and you want to watch it, I was looking, I think we've got over 1,000 people have actually watched it. So that's, it didn't exactly go viral, but 1,000 people's not bad. Those people who are interested in Texas plumbing and the plumbing agency, I think it was pretty informative. Like I say, Roger did a good job covering all the issues that have affected us the last few years, as well as where we're going in the future on our legislative plans and what our plans are going forward. So that's about all I have to say. Lisa, Darren, or Ron, anything about the meeting in Fort Worth or Dallas that you want to comment on? Lisa, anything?
We're going to be going to Plano.
Oh, that's right.
Next week, but the two town halls that we just did in Fort Worth and Dallas were both very well attended, so. Was happy with those.
I failed to mention, I'm glad you did, we're going to attend the PHCC conference. I think Darren's going, Lisa's going, and I'm going. Darren and Lisa, I think, are gonna make a presentation there. So it'll be, we look forward to that meeting, always do. And we are down to, I think we've done 9 town halls so far. We've pretty well covered North Texas, we've gone to East Texas, Southeast Texas, Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth. We still need to get down Norma, to South Texas, and also need to get out to El Paso. So hopefully we will get that done in the next month or two. And that'll kind of complete our town hall series for this year. We need to get it out of the way. We generally do not do town halls while the legislature's in session. It's a little difficult for us to schedule those, not knowing what our demands at the legislature are gonna be. We may get called in at the last minute, so we don't wanna have a town hall where we're stressed out too thin. So we will finish those up the next month or two. Norma, we're gonna be coming to see you. Hopefully you'll help us out with that again, like you did last year. And then we'll take a trip to El Paso. Now that's all I've got. Let's move to item number 6, and this is an item that we have discussed for 2 or 3 different meetings. And it has to do with the definition of direct supervision. And I want to give a shout out to Darren Black. We've discussed, had an open discussion and comments from the public about the pros and cons of using virtual supervision. And I think Darren has come up with a good middle ground. It doesn't go as far as I want to go, but it's a step in the right direction. He and Lynn and Lisa have developed some language to allow virtual supervision for certain individuals that hold a current RUI and a drain cleaner registration. So with that being said, the language that we're proposing is under tab 1. It's not your last bite out of the apple for the public or for the board. If we approve this today, which I recommend that we do, then it will be submitted to the governor's office and posted on the Texas Register for a 30-day period to offer the public the opportunity to comment on it. Once that posting period has completed, then it'll come back to the board for final adoption or revision. So this is the first shot out of the gun. You will get another bite out of the apple if it's approved today and submitted to the Texas Register. Darren, anything you want to add to that?
I look forward to the public comments and hearing from the rest of the industry.
Let me, if I can, let me read to you the language that we're gonna post in the Texas Register. It's under 361.1 direct supervision. There is an A, 1, 2, and 3. And we're adding, this is the language that we'll be adding in addition to the language that's already under direct supervision. This will be new language. Direct supervision may include virtual, audio, visual, real-time communication for repair and replacement of existing fixtures not involving gas appliances on one or two family dwellings performed only by licensees and registrants with 4,000 hours of documented experience, a current RUI, and a drain cleaner registration. So virtual supervision will be limited to those holding those. And the reason that Darren came up with this, and I think it's a good one. Number one, you ensure that they've got 4,000 hours, so they're not rookies off the street. Number two, holding an RUI and a drain cleaner registration also requires that they have continuing education. So it's people that are committed to the industry. I think it was a good proposal. Like I said, I don't think it goes far enough, but I think it's a good one, and it's a step in the right direction. And I suggest that we approve this and see if the world actually comes to an end when we do this. And I don't think that it will, so. Is there a motion to submit this?
Comment?
Comment, go ahead.
Obviously, you know how I feel about this, Mr. Chairman, and I just want to reiterate a couple of things. We've doctored this thing, or we've added now RUI drain cleaner in the 4,000 hours. Our current, the plumbing law and the, board rules have a very tiered way to achieve licenses. If you get to this 4,000 hours, you need to come down here and take your tradesman test. That is a benchmark that we allow people to start doing a little plumbing on their own. So if you've got this here, why are we not? I mean, we spent 2 years going through all the rules, you know, that we have to go through every once in a while and shred. And I think if you pass this, a future board's gonna come back and say, why do we have this? I mean, I don't understand. One last thing is we did a great job working with the legislature requirements of getting plumbing in high schools. We got TSTC. And so we're telling these kids to come in, go through these programs, and you can set for a trade. And yeah, it's still got a pass fail component to it, but we're gonna take somebody that not necessarily, they may or may not have putting in the effort to learn what these kids going through programs where they actually learn something. Someone can come in and they don't have to take a test, they can start doing plumbing. So that's why I'm opposed to it. I understand, I'm not against technology, but we have benchmarks in our license law. And I think we ought to stick to those. Thank you.
Mr. This is a chance for them to make a contribution, to expand the plumbing community for responsible companies and try to eliminate, it's just a small baby step, but it maybe eliminate some of these unlicensed people. that work.
I think this has zero bearing on unlicensed activity.
Well,
Most people are gonna do that whether you do this or not.
they might, but if the jobs aren't there, they won't.
Okay.
Anyway, that's, any other discussion or comments before we get a
The
motion?
only other thing I would add, kind of considering this, is if that individual, that apprentice achieves all these levels and it spurs them along to getting their tradesman, that tradesman with that drain cleaner registration it can do commercial drain cleaning. It actually makes him more valuable to that RMP and that organization than the tradesman that doesn't have the drain cleaner. And we've only, like Frank said, I think the eligibility is more than 1,000. I think we probably have more of an eligibility of 20 to 25,000 individuals that would be eligible to take advantage of this. So I want to kind of
No.
make sure.
You're right. We do have a larger number of apprentices that got over number of hours. When I said 1,000, there are only 1,000 that are currently holding an RUI and a drain cleaner registration. So you make a good point, and to Ron's point, it's another stair step. It's another way to encourage a person to move on up the ladder. It's a lower rung that somebody can maybe move to a tradesman at later, once they gain confidence. And, so anyway, I support it, but certainly vote your conscience. Any other discussion before I call for a motion?
Are we gonna take public comment as well?
Well, this is only to post it in the Texas Register, and that's where we'll get public comment. We'll get public comment back in, and then it'll come back to the board to be voted on a final time before we adopt it as a final rule. So as I said, this is just the first, this is to allow the public to vote on, or to comment on it, so. Is there a motion?
A motion that we accept as written.
Second.
Motion and a second. That the
Can I
language,
go ahead and get a little bit, what you.
Let me
need to
finish.
Post it in the Texas Register for 30 days of public comment, is that correct?
the motion is that the language that we're proposing to add that I read earlier be posted in the Texas Register for 30 days for comment. Once that comment period is over, those comments will come back to the board, and we'll have an opportunity for a final vote on it to either adopt it or reject it after we receive public comment. So that's the motion, and we have a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Don, would you mind doing a roll call? I didn't catch everybody.
Mr. James Ainsworth,
Nay.
Mr. Darren Black,
Aye.
Mr. Milton Gutierrez,
Aye.
Mr. William Clark,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas McDonald,
Yay.
Ms. Norma Yato,
Aye.
I get to vote.
and Mr. Frank Dutton.
Yes. Motion passes 6-2. So with that being said, we'll post it in the Texas Register, Lynn, whatever the appropriate steps are that we need to take, if you'll do that. I would suspect it might make it. Is the 30-day posting period, is that right?
It's open for 30 days for public comment, yes.
Okay,
And I suspect, the Texas Register is usually 2 weeks out, so it'll be posted within the next 3 weeks, most likely.
okay. So hopefully we will time our next meeting. So we'll have our public comments back in and we can have a final discussion over the proposal at our next meeting, so. Okay, let's move on to item, I guess, number 7. That would be Lisa's report.
Thank you, sir. I've got quite a bit of things to talk about as usual. Not for anybody. Strategic plan that's posted on our website. We, put a lot of work into it. Came out looking pretty good. We've got a lot of good ideas. If anyone would like to read all of it, get there and, get yourself a cup of coffee. It's quite a few pages.
Kinda like watching the video, huh?
You may have me beat on that one.
Hey,
But it's a lot of information. On there, and we've got great plans, and, we're moving towards, a lot of new things, but it's posted under the, about us on the website. And I also put, I think I put the whole copy, it's pretty large in your, link there. So, but we made it on time, we got it turned in, and that's the important part, and we all worked on it. I don't think there was a person in the building that didn't work on it. So congratulations to all staff.
And I would offer a thanks to the folks at the town hall meeting. A lot of the things we heard at the town hall meetings were incorporated into our strategic plan. Because really it's about what we're gonna be doing the next 5 to 10 years. It's
With enhancements for the public users and for plumbing companies of our online accounts. That's something we did hear about. That's something we did hear about at, town hall several times. We've made some enhancements, but, what will make it better for the end user? We've got that on our list of items to do in our strategic plan. And we also have it included in one of our items that's going to be rather expensive, as far as the enhancements to our system. So, I'm glad for that input. We've got several things on your list there, and I need a little bit of guidance and, thought. If anybody's got any opinions on our list of items, you'll see the summary of all the other exceptional items we want to do. Of course, number one, we've got to look at our lease renewal. That's coming up. We're also wanting to ask for some additional funding to attract more people to our team, as well as retain some of my staff that are just outstanding people that I should be able to pay more money for. We're negligent if we don't go before the legislature and ask for raises. There's not an agency there that won't be begging for more money.
the difference in them and us, is we deserve it.
I couldn't have said that better.
We carry our own weight.
That's right.
No.
And you'll see there's two different items. Number two is actually funding to attract. And number three is just general merit increases, and that's not an uncommon item to list in your legislative request. Merit increases are usually bundled into one lump sum. Sometimes they hold them back till the last minute. And one of the things we're going to be very clear on that we need is we want an additional FTE, full-time employee as an examiner to drive and to give exams in our mobile unit. The one that we're gonna be able to park out on a parking lot and say plumbing board on the side of it. So we've got to ask for an employee for that. We also want to ask for a little additional money to do more travel in our outreach programs. We kind of borrowed travel money from different areas this go around to get all of our town halls done. We want to be able to do a little bit more outreach to veterans. We want to go to some more of the programs for the high schools. And as the high school programs expand more and more, we're going to be doing more travel on that than we have this past year. We recently did another one of the high school programs, and they're just fantastic to go to. The kids love it, we love it. We want to make sure we've got money designated for that outreach. Also, if you'll remember, we've discussed 2 or 3 times going ahead and saving some money or setting some money aside, and we should specifically ask for this money. We wanted to do an internal audit again and get an outside auditor. We've been very lucky. We've had really good financial staff here. But, previous to this, about every 2 or 3 years, we would get an outside audit on it. And it's good business practice. It does cost a lot of money. We have to put it out for bids. We're gonna put that dollar amount in there. That's an estimated cost to do it. A lot of times. And when we can pinch a penny somewhere to try to get that done, but because we already know we're gonna be, pinched a little bit, we wanna just ask for everything that we need to get done and get it done. I mentioned just a while ago about the customer focused IT enhancements. That's also gonna include some how-to videos. One of the big enhancements is, we're looking, I'm gonna go ahead and throw it out there. We're looking at going to a digital license. And you'll actually pop it up on your cell phone. And, you can still get a card, but there's gonna be a fee with the card. But just the software and just the programming for that and the transfer of data back and forth for that to occur is not cheap. And it requires quite a bit of effort. I said I wasn't gonna do it in my time. I drug my feet, jumping up and down and screaming. I'm not gonna answer the phone calls of people that still want a plastic card, but
At least it might have been your and I first argument.
I believe it was funny. I'm not gonna say you won yet.
No, I didn't say that, but
Because this
I
is
did
no small
question.
deal.
The first week I was here, I think we talked about that.
And what we agreed upon, if I recall, is that all the people that were gonna call griping and stuff, we would just transfer and
I don't think we agreed to that.
and then we'd be done, but because the cost for license cards has skyrocketed, they're made out of plastic and we don't wanna go back to paper ones. Because the machine that prints those, the cost for those ribbons, everything has gone up tremendously. We are looking very carefully and think we may have found a program that'll work and talk to our Versa program to do this, so. We're gonna ask for some money and I'll give it my best shot. It might be one of the last grand things I do while I'm here. We'll see. Well, a digital license, so. So that's a pretty good chunk of money. We're also gonna have to ask for a vehicle replacement. Vehicles are very hard to get on state contract now. We've got. I need to get one in 1 year and one in the next year. I need to get one in 26 and one in 27. Our Tahoe is gonna be close to aging out, but it's hard to wear that thing out. And we use it to tow our trailer a lot. But we'll also have another aged car by 27 that's a field investigator car that'll need to be replaced. And it unless things get better quickly, it takes us a year to get a car off a state contract, just about. So we want to go ahead and plan for a couple of vehicles. In asking for additional field investigator, which we're gonna lump together in our number of FTEs we're gonna ask for. That's gonna have a car that has to be, that'll be, we'll actually end up with 3 cars, I hope. But if we put 3 cars and ask for 3 cars, one being going with a new field investigator and the other 2, one in each year, we get cut back to 2, we can still make it. But we've gotta go in there looking for what we know we're gonna need. The more we expand, the more we get out, the more we run around, we've gotta have dependable vehicles. And I'm sure everybody knows, the cost to repair one now is just unbelievable. We just recently did some repairs updated several things and whew, we just pinch pennies somewhere else to get it done. We've also got to allow for some funding, and I don't have a good dollar amount yet for, special build out and items that are gonna be needed in Harlingen. Items that'll be needed to update a couple of things we see we would like to do in Waco if possible. Mainly, we need to put some money in there for Harlingen. That building is sitting there. TSTC is looking at making some kind of agreement or offer on it. We've got to be prepared for anything, any costs that are gonna be our costs. We've got to be ready to do those, so. It's a large amount of money and, I welcome advice or thoughts or anything, and maybe some direction of what not to exceed, on a dollar amount, something like that.
I don't think there is a number for that.
Well,
You know,
I can
Lisa,
ask
I
for
think
that.
you've done a pretty good job. Point out a couple of things that Lisa's had that are kind of new to the agency, and Lisa came up with this, I think it's a good idea. Is one field rep that does nothing but work on online complaints. People on Facebook that are advertising without a license, or people that are advertising on the internet without license. And she's called it cybersecurity complaints. And I think we got a lot of them in Texas. So this would be a field investigator that strictly stays on the computer all the time looking for violations of that, so.
And they'll collect data too and forward it to an investigator that might already be working in that area. We tried this type of program before and it works good, but we didn't have enough staff to sustain it, so.
You know, the other thing that I two things actually I want to mention about the LAR. Lisa and Dan and I spent a couple of hours yesterday. The Legislative Budget Board, who is the agency or the group that provide information to the legislators themselves about what we're asking for and why we're asking for it. Lisa and I and Dan spent a couple of hours yesterday with the analyst who's going to be handling particularly the plumbing, and then his supervisor. And I was very encouraged that they took the time to come over to our agency and talk to us. And I keep laughing about it, but Lisa sent him that video of past, present, and future. Our new analyst he's new to his job, who knew nothing about the plumbing board. So that video that I did with Roger was a pretty good recap for him, and he said something about it was informative too. It helped him understand where we came from, we're about to be abolished, and what we've accomplished, after this year. That's a big deal, because they need to go back to the legislator and tell them that the money that you gave them last time was well spent, and here's the results, here's what they did. 2022, they gave 4,600 exams. 2023, it jumped up to 9,600. And that's progress. That's money well spent, that we have been good stewards of the money that's been given to us from the legislature. So we did get an opportunity to talk to the LBP about that. They're gonna carry our message back to the legislators, offer some suggestions of how to handle it. But one thing, and we talked to them about this, some agencies ask for more than what they actually need, thinking they're gonna get cut back. We didn't do that last year. We asked for there was not a dime that we asked for that we didn't need it. And you know what? We got every penny we asked for. We got a 30% increase in our base budget last year. This year, we're looking at probably another 20% increase in our base budget. But it's like I was telling the LBB yesterday, we've got 15 or 20 years of being behind the curve. And it's time that we caught up, and we can't ever get behind the curve again in this. We've got our high school programs coming on. We've got our trade school programs coming on. We're gonna have more tests, more complaints, more licenses. We have got to stay out ahead of the curve, because that's how we got in trouble last time, is we got behind the curve. I think it was Bill Gates once time said, when they were asking about Microsoft, when it was just coming out, what's the greatest threat to Microsoft? And he made a comment, the greatest threat we have is when the rate of change outside your organization is faster than the rate of change within your organization. And I think that's pretty good advice for us. We can't wait for it to happen. We've got to get out ahead of it. We know we've got 60 high schools that are adopting a plumbing program. We've got 6 community colleges, TSTC leading the way. on plumbers. We can't wait till those people overwhelm us to start putting together exam centers and test centers and customer service people. We've got to stay out ahead of it. So we told the LVB yesterday, we're gonna have a pretty big ask, but it's gonna be things that we actually want. We're not budget. We're asking what we actually need. I think it's dishonest to do anything different. Anyway, Lisa, I think you and Dan have done a good job in putting this together. I think you might be a little light on this examiner for the mobile unit. We met with TSTC, Lisa and I did about 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. Jimmy Bibb, who's in our audience today, was in that meeting.
Sir,
Yes,
that
ma'am.
is a little light on that. I think it got adjusted to try to make the total look a little bit better. And it might have gotten pulled out of the wrong place because that's not enough for my
Okay.
FTE.
We'll go over it again before it's submitted, but this is gonna be a special job. That's one of the discussions I had with a representative from TSTC after our meeting that Lisa and I had. Was this mobile unit. It's kind of stalled a little bit at TSTC, and I was trying to encourage them to get going. They're running into some budget issues. Also, there is an issue, who's gonna provide the driver, TSTC or us? Jimmy, please take back to TSTC. We put in our legislative appropriations for a driver for that vehicle. So, that was kind of up in the air at our meeting. It makes a lot of sense if we can find a plumber, journeyman or master plumber, who also holds a CDL, a commercial driver's license. And that way that person can drive it as well as give the exams while he's there, because when we take this mobile unit out, it's gonna be in the area for several days, if not a week. So it doesn't make sense for a driver to drive it out there and then a plumber to meet him out there. And so if we can find a plumber / CDL driver, that is a better way to do it. So please pass on to your folks that we have put in our LA for a drive. Board members, any observations or comments about our ask?
I think it's great. And obviously, just like, last session when we took our LAR in, I mean, we're asking for more money, but that's because we're trying to increase the service level that we provide to the state. And so I think it's what it is. I mean,
I'm not backing up when we do it.
Yeah.
I mean, we wouldn't ask for it if we didn't need it. We're doing
Right.
exactly what they charge us to do. We're gonna keep it. So.
yeah, and we need to do that. And in order to do that, we need people to do it. So, I think it's a compelling story.
We've got a good one. We spent the money well, and we can give them some return on their investment that they made in us in the last session. So we may or may not get it, but we certainly should not be timid about asking for it.
Won't get it if you don't ask.
Absolutely. That's what the LBB said yesterday. He said the worst thing they can say is no.
Yeah.
So if you need it, ask for it.
I've got a question, Frank. Does the JET program, the grant program through the JET, does it afford the community colleges also the opportunity to?
Yes, as a matter of fact, TSTC yesterday, the governor announced that he gave TSTC $100,000 for a program in Harlingen. It's a specific program, so yes, community colleges are eligible for the JET grant funding, as are high schools. Didn't have anything to do with plumbing, but TSTC did get a grant yesterday for $100,000. And it also has nothing to do with our budget. That's all under the workforce commission. So
If we can get it, I can spend it. I've spent it every time we've been able to get it, and in the last 3 years, we've had a little bit of money, so, in the last 3 sessions.
Last year, all of you will remember, but we not only spent it, we slid in under the wire.
Well, I'm gonna tell you,
I mean, it was really close, and I'm okay with that. We should not have leftover funds at the end of our budgetary cycle. people under the false impression that we get credit for giving extra money to the legislature. They could care less. We're not even a blip on the radar screen. So we shouldn't charge our plumbers any more than what it absolutely takes to run our agency. And at the end of the year, we should spend every bit of the money that we've been given for the benefit of the plumbers and for the benefit of the agency and the industry and the public. And we shouldn't have anything left over. So I'm okay. It was a little too tight, a little too close last year. If you remember, we went the last 6 months without even getting board reimbursement for our expenses because of that. And we hope we won't come in that close this time, but, I'm okay with being a little tight, but a little too tight last time. Anything else on our LAR before Lisa moves on?
No, but I'm open, if anybody wants to talk about it while we're working this up, we have not gotten to the actual instructions and the system opened. Total FTEs on that, just to bring that back up again, is gonna be 6 additional FTEs, so. People are hard to find, but we've got to have them. We've always struggled. We've always had less people than we do have jobs, and we've got plenty of jobs now.
You know, again, I will refer back to our town hall meetings. So a lot of what we heard in our town halls, people don't realize, we pay attention and listen to what you're saying. Part of what we were hearing most of anything, nobody answers the telephone, nobody returns my emails. It's hard to get in touch with anybody. But I think that high call volume and high email volume is not a problem. It's a symptom of the problem. The real problem is we haven't done good enough job of pushing information out to our plumbers to provide them the information where they don't have to call us. They already know. So a lot of our LAR is for technology issues, trying to how-to videos and instructional videos to try to get out to our continuing education providers and to the plumbers in general to educate them more how to operate within our system, which I think will cut down on our call volume. To ask Kevin, element or component that we've got to our website, thank you, Kevin, has been a huge success in helping cut down on the volume of calls and emails. I think Kevin reported that it was 2 to 3 months after we implemented that, our call volume and email volume dropped 35%. So Kevin's got some ideas of how to expand that to Facebook and to WhatsApp. Is that what the name of it is?
Yeah, WhatsApp.
WhatsApp?
Yep.
To make it even more readily available to the plumbing community and the public. And that stuff takes money. I hope we've got money in there for an app for our phone. A plumbing board app for our phone. It's difficult to navigate without that app, I'm told. So a lot of this technology, and we got that directly from our town hall meetings, from feedback from plumbers themselves of what's wrong with the agency, what are we not doing well. So we've incorporated a lot of that, not just in our strategic plans, but for the money that we're asking for.
I do want to say we also got a whole bunch of hugs, and I love y'all and stuff like that
We did.
at our town halls.
Well, you got them. I didn't get too many. We did. It's not all negative. We did get some positive feedback too.
Yeah, we did. They were good. They were really good, both of those were.
I love going to those things. I like to hear the good things and I like to hear the bad things. I really do.
We didn't get back until almost 10 o'clock on one of those nights. We just stayed and did and talked to every single person that needed talking to, so.
One thing Lisa did that I think is a great idea is rather than hearing the individual complaints during the meetings themselves, we announced that after the meeting, if you've got a problem with your license or one of your employees' license, just stay afterwards and we'll fix it tonight. And Lisa and Kevin has done that, been there with us.
It's good.
when the meeting is over with, they just line up, and if they've got a problem, they get online and fix it right there on the spot. So that's been a really good addition and help for our town hall meetings. And it cuts down on someone's taking 15 minutes to talk about their individual license, and the rest of the crowd doesn't care. So rather than talk about it, we fix it at the end of the meeting, and we've usually got someone there like Kevin or Lisa that can get online and actually fix the problem. So another incentive to show up at the town hall meeting, so.
My next item is personnel changes and staffing. So let me see. No, they're on my list, but, if you look out on our website, you'll see quite a few postings for, different positions. It's difficult to hire people, but we offer a lot of good things. We offer a great team to work with. We offer the opportunity to walk across the HEB for lunch. You don't have to drive anywhere. You don't have to park in a 5-story parking garage. You can just pull up to the side or back or front of the building. So we have a lot of good things that we hope, will attract some folks. We do not have a whole lot of jobs that are work from home, which are the most popular type of jobs right now. But this, coming week, I think I've got about 10 people to interview, so I'm really excited about that, because in most cases, when I post one customer service opening, I get one application. So that tells me there's some people looking around out there again, and that's a great thing. So I'm excited, I'm hopeful. We're gonna run them through here and try to pick out some more team members, because we desperately need them. You'll also notice, if you've looked at at the job postings, that there's some pretty large jobs that are posted on our website. And one of those, in particular, well, I don't have this one out yet, but you will see that there's a chief, field investigator position and a director of enforcement out there. The reason why those are out there now is because Steve will eventually retire. For now, we're gonna make some changes in duties to try to look towards eventually hiring and or training that person and be able to work Steve out. Much like eventually I would think will do me, but that's a ways down the road, looks like. When you see that, you'll see that there's some changes coming. Delwyn Derrick in Lubbock, Delwyn is going to, leave our agency and go back into the plumbing industry. So Delwyn's position will be posted very soon. We've got a couple of people that are somewhat interested in it. I mean, the pay's not great, but the working conditions are good. If you already live in Lubbock and you like Lubbock, I don't know. I've been to Lubbock. I know it's cheaper to live in Lubbock than it is here. Let me put it that way. So I got a couple of people that are looking at that, so I'm excited about that. Maybe we get a couple of, we should have some new customer service folks coming in. Maybe by next board meeting, you'll get to meet some of the new customer service. So we got a lot of stuff going on. We also have our summer internship program, which I mentioned before, and Kaylee, McKee, and Sprague Summers, if y'all want to stand up, they're sitting right over there. Those are our 2 law students. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna miss them so much. They only got to stay with us, what, 6 weeks or something like that? 8 weeks. They worked with Lynn and she's thrown law stuff at them, and they looked at fingerprints, and they've done all kinds of stuff. And so we're really grateful for them, and we wish them well in their journey through their legal profession. I think they're both gonna do really well, so we're excited. So give them a hand, because they have helped us. It didn't cost us a dime. And thank you, Lynn, for getting them.
Thank you both. It's been a pleasure having you here. And thank you so much for all your help. You know, the thing I like about you the most, you never hesitate. When someone asks you to do something, you just jump in and do it. It may not be exactly what you had envisioned for a legal internship program, but you never complained. You always jumped in and helped us, and we really appreciate it. And I'm gonna tell you, that will pay off for you in life if you keep doing that for the rest of your life. So anyway, thanks a lot. Appreciate you being here.
Next item I have. I don't know how many of my items you want me to do. But we'll
Keep
try.
going, good. We're gonna,
Okay.
about
I'm
another
gonna
5
go.
minutes, we're gonna take just a short break and then we'll
Okay.
go right up to 11:45.
And so by having them help us on fingerprints and a lot of criminal review type stuff, we've actually gotten to 73% of our population, their fingerprints have been processed and reviewed. 73% is pretty doggone good, I'm gonna tell you. We've gotta have them all done by September 1 of 2025. I see no problem in that. And what you have to realize is that as the percentage is going up, but our population is going up too. So about the time I think I've got 100 of them sitting here, then I got 100 new ones coming in. And I'm still trying to get our existing masters. Most of the tradesmen are all done. Majority of the existing journeymans that have renewed are done. If your journeyman's not renewed right now, it's probably because you haven't gotten fingerprints. Don't feel like you got something to hide. No one needs to worry about that. We need to know about it and let's get it over with. We've got some masters, but I don't see any reason why our current population won't easily be done by the legislative end dated September of 2025. So we worked really hard on that.
I promised Bill that we wouldn't talk about the fingerprint anymore, so. You know, I will say this, Lisa, on the fingerprinting, you'll notice later this afternoon when we get into the enforcement, you'll see the percentage of revocations and denials goes up. And
Fingerprints.
I kind of think what's happened is a lot of these folks with criminal backgrounds have procrastinated and put it off and put it off to the very last moment. Now it's crunch time, so we're gonna have some of these with some criminal history. Say, okay, well, I'm gonna give it a shot. So but you will see in the enforcement report, you'll see the number of hits have gone up. The percentage of denials have gone up.
And if you think you've made a mistake on what you've told us over the years and you're coming towards renewal, call us, let's talk about it. You know, maybe we need to have a come to Lisa and Steve meeting or something. Let's get these done and over with. Versa updates. We're on the edge, speaking of penalties for things, we're on the edge of testing our pay penalties online. We're getting closer. It's I expect into August 1st, mid of September.
In certain cases, enforcement will let them pay that out over time. Let MasterCard deal with that. Let's get us out of the collection business. Right now, we have a dedicated person in our enforcement staff that has to keep up with, did they make their payment this month and are they behind on it? Do I need to call them and remind them? And so there's no excuse not to put that on a credit card. I can get my 10-year-old grandson a credit card. So the argument you can't get a credit card is not gonna hold a lot of water. If you got a credit card, put your penalty on a credit card and pay it out to MasterCard or Visa or whoever you want to. And let's get us out of the collection business. So I think that's a really good move. And thank you, Lisa, for doing that.
It's coming. We've moved that to the top of the list. Current statistics on plumbers, licensees and registrants. We're feverishly working to close out every renewal that's open, short of their fingerprints. Enter every apprentice app. We've got till the end of August, about the 27th, 31st is really the end of the fiscal year. But we focus on about the 27th to get everything entered, everything accounted for. It's no small job, I can tell you that. And with the limited staff that we have, we're struggling. But part of our numbers right now are down, and some of that has to do with people that have drug their feet on fingerprints. Anybody that does not have a hit on their name, we call it a no hit. That's what DPS calls it. You've pretty much been reviewed and renewed. If you're not, if you're sitting there, there's something else wrong right now, so you need to start trying to figure out what that is. But we want to get everybody entered, everyone renewed and approved, and so your numbers are gonna be off a little bit right now. But overall, you're at 67,999 for people. So you've got some people that have dropped out and they've gone into reinstate. We had a pretty good sized chunk, and we suspect that that's because they had a background they never told us about. So we'll see how it turns out in August. It's disappointing. And we've had plenty of people, we've actually had some people come back that are coming back from the oil field too. Some people have been deployed. We've got a few veterans that have came back lately, so it's a constant, it's fluid all the time. It's always moving. Continuing education program, for those of you that are providers, you'll start seeing your 2025 CE credits to pick from. That'll be in your class. The vendor has them right now. They might get them ready and operational, but we have to test them. So probably this next week or two, you'll start seeing 2025 you can pick. And don't forget, if you've got apprentices taking, the apprentice CE, that you click on apprentice CE and not regular CE. And the apprentice CEs are in there. Anybody can use that. It works on any license type. The rules are built into it. It's ready to go. I already mentioned the payment of credit card, on those. I've got the statistics on licensees. I'll try to get these out to the providers on the number of individuals, number of masters. And just to throw one number out there to back up a little bit. Master plumbers, 12,232. That's the most masters I think we've ever had. And, since the masters have gone taking the computer or the computer-based master exam, then of course that's going up quite a bit too. Everybody wants to try it, so. Which leads me to, oops, I almost forgot. The HATS program, we're up at about 34 individuals that are registered in various schools. Harris County has a whole lot of them. Lubbock has some, they're all over, Tyler. We continue to add those. The report on Ask Kevin, we've been playing around with Ask Kevin again too, and it is working great. I gotta say, try it, use it, tell them it's out there. First thing I think I ask in every class, has anybody used that? And then they go, used what? Ask Kevin? You mean call Kevin? I said, sure, you can call Kevin. And then I give him his number. No. I wish I could do that. But yeah, once they get the hang of it, it's pretty cool.
What did you see yesterday?
Yeah. And you know, something is, what size of the letters supposed to be on the side of my van? Ask about information on invoices. How long is my license good for? You know, I'm a new, how often do I take CE? Just anything. It's in that program. And our how-tos, we recently updated a couple of our how-tos as well. And they're good. When I get somebody that's willing to try it, that's calling because they have some problems, I said, how about this? You help me, I'll help you. And you give them that how-to, see if they can get it done, and the light goes off, and they're like, oh, I did it. And so then they tell one friend, and they tell a friend, that's how you get it done. So it happens.
Lisa or Kevin, how many questions per day are we seeing on Ask Kevin?
It fluctuates, but it's between 70 and 100. right now.
So that's significant.
Yeah.
You know, that's 70 to 100 emails or phone calls that are not getting made, so that's significant.
I used it during this meeting.
I use it all the time. I use it all-
About 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, I use it all the time.
That's 70 to 100 full-on conversations, so there might be multiple questions per conversation.
Oh, I see, okay. So if I get on it and ask my maximum of 5, that's 1.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Anyway, I think it's great, and as we expand that to make it more accessible to the plumbers and the public through maybe some, not exactly sure how it's gonna work, but it's, if we some way can, where they can ask that question on Facebook, maybe there won't be so much erroneous information going out on Facebook. So Kevin's looking at that, what we're gonna need to do, and I just have really high hopes. It was interesting that we talked to LBB yesterday, and we were telling them a little bit about our Ask Kevin. They're not aware of any other Article 8 agency that are using any type of artificial intelligence. They were shocked at what we were doing. And I find that hard to believe that someone hasn't done that, but I'm proud that we're doing it. And it's certainly been a big help to us. We're gonna expand it, so.
Not to back up, but those guys they were excited to come see us and felt like they had a whole different thought process on plumbers after they left.
They did. You know, they even asked us for our new press releases about some of the accomplishments that we had made. They kind of got into it, and that's a big deal,
That's a good thing.
because they're the one that are selling our package to the legislators. You know, the legislators are the decision makers, but these are the guys that provide them the information going into the session, so.
And I think they were also surprised at how many people we deal with. And I was gonna mention this earlier, and I'm going somewhere with this, but, I took them and showed them our licensing department. And they went, "That's your license?" I said, "Yeah, this." I said, "Walk down this aisle. This is it. This is what I have, one side of people." And they went, "Oh, we get it now." I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna be asking for twice this many again, because we've got many more licensees than we've ever had, and people just in general. So it was a really good thing. But, which that leads me to one other spot. Since I'm already on the numbers of people and places and things and stuff like that, could I go ahead and tell about the number of exams?
I'd love to. I tell you,
Or
let's
you want a
take a
break?
5-minute break.
Okay.
It's about 6 minutes after 11. Let's take about a 5 or 6 minute break, and we'll come back and pick it up. For
Okay.
the last few numbers.
These two things I'm got to tie together, so that's great. You know,
Everyone will take their seat. We'll get back started.
we'll have a little fun.
It's 11:16, call the meeting back to order and turn it back over to Lisa, who I think is gonna get into our exam statistics. Is that right?
Okay, yes, I wanted to mention that. Let me get back to my page here, since I'm skipping items, I'm skipping around a little bit. And I'm also gonna send this to the providers as well, but our pass-fail rate,
What tab are you on, Lisa?
we moved all the way over to tab 3.
3, okay.
Which is actually item number 10 that we moved around on. You can see, we broke down the, number of exams given, the pass-fail rate. And, one of the things that jumps out a little bit is on the written. For this year so far, there's been 1,417 on the number of written exams, and 994 people have passed it. And so we're still hovering right around 70%. It's actually 70.1% passing. So they're still getting in a little bit of a hurry before they go take the exam. I had a guy that made a really good score the other day, and he said, "Oh, I was shooting for 100," and I said, "Well, you still made way above average," and he was in the high 80s. So,
You're speaking about the journeyman written exam, is
yeah,
that right?
journeyman written exam.
What's interesting is last year, it's exactly the same thing, 71.1. So it's
Yeah.
not down to a point. It's
Yeah.
not that off.
Why do you think the tradesman pass rate's higher than the journeyman?
I think the tradesman pass rate is higher because they are really, we're getting a lot of people coming out of career schools. And they're just, it's such a young group. I think they're more still inclined to study. And so it's, they're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
And we've been watching them closely, let me put it that way. And you'll get a big group, we watch them in groups too. We'll get a big group and they'll all blow it, and then all of a sudden the next group will come up and everybody's great, so. But what we are seeing though is that on the tradesmen, they tend to do really well on the written, and then they're not doing so good on the practical. They're struggling on the practicals, so. And that's just, practice makes perfect, what can I say?
You know,
Master- Sir,
you were just fixing to go into something I thought you were gonna skip.
masters,
Yes, please go ahead.
yeah. On the masters, the masters are completely computer based now. And the new review course or training guide or whatever you want to call it, study guide, that's coming out. Kevin and I have been working on it. But the main thing is study the same things you studied before, which is good sanitary plumbing. There's a lot of code questions on there. There's a lot to do on that exam. And right now, the passing rate on the master is 58.6. And I'm gonna tell you, as soon as they get past that 4 year, or if they came out of a DOL, as soon as they're eligible to take the master exam, they're taking that master exam, and then they're in shock because they're really, really not ready to take it. And the big difference is that at a master level, you should be expected to be able to truly take a job and size the whole job. You should be able to calculate what you need on that job. And even though you depend on Google a whole lot and you depend on an engineer's drawing or whatever, that master, you're not gonna always have that. It's not always gonna be one little page that tells you exactly what to do. You're gonna get out on a job and you're gonna have to figure it out yourself, and that's what you're tested on, is how do you calculate, how do you figure, what are the code answers to the code questions, that sort of thing. So a lot of them are surprised and they didn't expect it. They thought in their mind, and I've had multiple people say this to me, well, it's computer based now. I think it ought to be a lot easier. It's a very similar exam. It's just on a computer. And so it's the same situation, is if you have not studied, you're not gonna pass it. So, and I've based on a lot of calls and a lot of discussions that I've had, before it went computer based, a lot of them would say, I'll just wait and take it whenever. But now everybody's like, no, I wanna go ahead and try it. Well, you can try it 5 times in a year if you wanna keep trying. It's your dollar, so.
I
Anyhow,
think it's significant that, and we've tracked this, watched this pretty closely, that we were concerned when we went to computer-based testing, how is it gonna compare to the written exam, paper exam? It dropped
Close.
2 points, so it's
Yeah.
tracking pretty close to what it was on the written paper exam, so it's.
Yeah.
And we've discussed a little bit of this in the last board meeting, and I don't know how the other board members feel. I'm not dissatisfied with a 58, 55, 60% pass rate on a master. It's the top of the food chain. It should be a tough test.
Yeah.
So I'm not shooting for a 80 or 90% pass rate. It is
No.
what it is. I mean, there are 58% of the people that have been able to pass it successfully. Which tells, now if it were only a pass rate of 10% or 20%, it'd be concerning.
Mhm.
But I would be just as concerned if it was a 90 or 95% pass rate. So I think we're where we need to be, and I think it's significant that it may be a slightly more difficult. I think it's a little more comprehensive, and the questions get shuffled for every test taker.
Yeah.
So it may be a little more difficult, but it should be. It's the top of the food chain in the plumbing.
We're happy with it, and we also get reports so that we can go back and look at, which questions are coming up as failures, you know, is there a problem with the question? We get all this stuff. We've done a lot of work on this, and we're happy with it. It's just that you've got this large volume of people that they're acting very surprised that it's tough, but I agree, it's the top of the food chain, and that's kind of the phrase I use a lot. You're the top of the food chain, you ought to know this.
Yeah, they should.
So,
So I tell you, with Pearson View, what's the term I'm looking for? They do the testing to determine,
analysis,
it's an analysis, but there's a term for it. We've got the capability, is everyone missing the same question?
yeah, we get those reports.
And we get those reports, so if we need to modify the question to make it, maybe it's ambiguous, or maybe it's not totally clear. And that's a continuous process that we get those reports from Pearson View to make sure our test is a good, valid test. And, Lisa, as it's appropriate, we'll make adjustments to the wording of the question, or maybe the answer, whatever. If we're seeing a trend that everyone misses question about this. So there may be a problem, but if we go back, and take a look at it, and that's something that we've never had the ability to do. But using Pearson View, they provide that, I'll think of that term in a minute.
Well, we did
Validation.
before.
It's not, it's something else. Go ahead.
We did it before, but it was a lot of manual work. And having it come out after a computerized report, it definitely makes it much easier. And you're thinking of wait, Frank, I just lost it too. Anyway, it's not biometrics, what am I just lost it. I was gonna be smart and have it for you, but that's okay. Anyhow, we do a lot of work on it, and we've gone back and we've analyzed the tradesmen and the journeymen multiple times. And we've recently done some updates on those, and we've got one other update coming, so. It's all very fair, it's all very consistent. And one of the great things about the master is how easy it is to do the application. Right now, you mail the application in with a copy of your photo ID. If you're eligible to take it and everything matches up in the system, you get an email, you go schedule it at Pearson View, you pick your day, you pay for it, and you walk in and you take it. It's pretty fast. So that part's working great. We will be turning the application itself back into the Versa Online program soon. But it will be done after August, which is at the beginning of our next year, and it's also a part of an update that we'll be doing in the Versa system. Yes, sir?
I was just gonna point out for the rest of the board, in the context of the virtual supervision discussion that we had earlier. It is worth noting that tradesman is the highest pass rate of our license exams, so just something to keep in mind. That's all.
Yeah, that's a good one. Any other questions on those? I've got one other thing I wanna tell about.
Sure, go ahead.
Right now on pending exams, there's 389 pending exams that are currently scheduled. There's more people than that could be scheduled, that have not scheduled. And for some reason, and nobody wants to come on Wednesdays, Thursdays, they wanna come on Monday and Friday. Well, we can't accommodate every single person on, Monday and Friday, so. Jump out there and pick some of those other dates that are available. And know this, that whenever you get your email after you've taken your written. And it gives you the opportunity to self-schedule your practical. You've gotta have at least 10 days out. It's not gonna let you pick tomorrow if there's an opening. It's gonna offer you 10 days out. You may see some opening dates in there. But if you're not 10 days out, it's not gonna let you choose that day for tomorrow, or the next day, or whatever. And because the file has to transfer, we have to know you're coming and all these things, so. But and what's interesting is that what's currently scheduled right now. There's 168 masters scheduled right now to take the master exam. And so I'm hoping they all get in there and pass it before August 31st. I'll really have some good numbers then. I don't know if they will, but we'll see.
At least we got a question here, Mr. Black.
Yes, sir.
Just a quick question. What's the meaning behind the numbers being doubled up? They're not being numbers being doubled up, the category being doubled up on the. Like that master written, you got 168 in one line item, you got 8 in another.
Those are retakes
Okay,
for a particular given period. What's actually totally scheduled right now is the 168.
okay.
Yeah, and 8 of those 168 are gonna be retaken. the
Okay.
exam. Yeah.
You know, the exam that has showed the most significant drop is the inspector. We were at a 74% pass rate last year today. We're at 63 now.
Yeah, inspectors,
But you know what, Lisa, we've also, the number of inspectors have shot up.
Yeah.
So we got a lot more people taking the inspector exam.
we used to be able to do one or 2 days a month. And we're shoving them in everywhere we've got a blank spot because the cities have so much going on. They're calling and going, we need to get this guy in here, so.
I don't know that you've ever had, I think you've commented on this before. You've never had as many inspectors as we have now. We're up to
No, that's our highest number.
1,737. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
I can remember just a year or two ago it was 1,000. So yeah, that's gone up significantly.
we got to 1,400 and thought, oh, man, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you know, it's still not enough. We still need more.
it's definitely not enough. The cities are always looking for, inspectors. So. I've got, let's see, what did I say? Yeah, total exams that are in motion right now, at any given moment. Is 836, so there's 836 people floating around that they're either taking a practical, they're taking a written, they just passed and or they're about to get their initial. It's a constantly moving number. By the time we get out of here, something will have changed on 1 or 2 of them. But 389 of those are either gonna be in Waco or here. And something that I wanted to mention something too about Waco is we've opened up the number of spaces in Waco. We have a new examiner in Waco. And I don't know if I mentioned him or not last time. I can't remember. But anyhow, John is working in Waco now and he's getting more comfortable. He's been down here training, he's been up there training. And so we've opened some more slots here and there in Waco as they get more comfortable. And he's more comfortable, and Howard, who is gotta make sure John's right behind him all the way, we'll add some spots in Waco, so. And I went up there and worked a few days and, we took a few odds and end people and just threw them in there and did some training on them and, it worked pretty good, so. Waco will be almost full tilt pretty soon, we'll see.
You know, the other thing that I think is really good, and I guess it's still holding true. GW said that the number of no-shows that we get have dropped to almost nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Now that they're scheduling their own tests. We used to have a problem with scheduling 12 and only 8 show up.
Yeah.
Pretty well, we scheduled 12 show up, so that's a big thing. Also, GW was showing me, I guess a week or two ago, that we are booked out like 3 months out for these practical exams. But yet, in 1 week, there's a Wednesday and a Thursday open to take an exam. So people are choosing to book out further that, like Lisa said, they just don't wanna do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
They wanna make a weekend of it.
Yeah.
A trip out of it, and that's up to them. If that's what they wanna do, that's fine. It's their choice. It's just that they're gonna go out further because those are the most popular days.
That
But
would be it.
Wednesday's a nice quiet day if somebody wants to.
I would be interested just for fun. During the lunch break, ask GW when the next available opening is, any day of the week.
Don could probably look that up.
Well, just, let's don't waste time on it right now, but at some point,
Yeah,
I'd just like to know when's the next opening, whether it be a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, or. I can tell you Fridays are booked up for months,
oh, yeah,
so.
yeah, most definitely. But, we do wanna, we'll wanna get people more familiar coming to Waco. It pops up in their list whenever they go in to get their, to do their self-scheduling. They get a choice between Waco and Austin. And what a lot of them are doing is they're looking at both places and, it's, you know, an hour drive difference. And some people will choose to come on down to Austin if it's the day that they want, but we've got Waco really almost rocking and rolling. We'll see how it all plays out. We've still got a lot of training to do. And, you know, I also, you know, Steve, I don't know. Did we have Bob here? New field event, we had Bob at the board meeting, didn't we? Yeah, because we had one other field investigator, but John hasn't been here, but I couldn't afford to bring John back down here today, but he's working in Waco full-time now, so.
We can hold to that, but.
The kind of thing, it was Bob we brought, and I haven't been able to bring John, so. You know, after a while, I've known everybody's name for so many years. And, I still try to call a couple of them back there Calvin, but there is no Calvin anymore. So it's taken me a while just to relearn as we've got new names. So don't any team member be offended if I call you by the wrong name, but. Anyhow, any other questions on exams or numbers or plumbers or what we've got going? Okay. And when we get to. Can I add one thing?
Sure.
It's kind of off of this, but it's coming up next, which is on finance stuff, but Dan will be in here when we start looking at our revenue collections. And you've got the one that shows it, month by month. You know, not collecting that master fee. We knew as we worked through this every year, we would have a downturn in those revenue collections because we're not handling that master fee. It's going through Pearson now. But the way it stands and the way I'm looking at it right now, even without that master fee, our collections for this month at least are still gonna be pretty much where we've stayed, pretty consistent.
We'll get into that when we get to
Yeah.
Dan's finance report, but also it's significant. This is really the first full year we've had. We reduced the fee for a master or an RMP by $100. And that a couple of years ago, that $100 hit our budget, $1 million is what it cost us when we reduced the fee, right? Which is fine because it was $1 million over our budget that was going into the general fund. So we cut it back, and I think it was a wise thing to do, but you'll see those reflected in the numbers too, so
Yeah.
not to be concerned. Go ahead, anything else, Lisa?
No, sir.
You know, we said we're gonna break for lunch at 11:45, which we're gonna do. But before we do that, I'm gonna take item number 13 on your agenda. And let's cover it. It won't take but just a second. And item number 13 is discussion on increase on education and training standards for med gas installation, endorsement and qualifications. We have talked about this,
What tab?
number 13, I don't think there is a tab.
Okay.
It's just number 13 on the
Item
agenda.
13.
Okay.
We've talked, the only difference between our med gas program in Texas and an NFPA 99 is we have 24 hours required in education. And we do not provide continuity testing, and those are the only difference between us and NFPA 99. We, as you might recall, we sent out requests for public comment about that to the med gas community. Whether they think we should bring it up to 32 hours and provide continuity testing. And the responses we got back, and we appreciate them, and we got every one of them, we read every single response. I know Darren has. Is all over the board. I'm for it, I'm against it, but no one has yet come to the conclusion of what we're gonna get by making those changes. I don't want to make just a change just for the sake of making a change, and I can't see any advantage to it. So before we abandon that, I've asked Darren, who is the only board member, I believe, who actually holds a med gas endorsement, to relook at this and take a look at all the comments and visit with our staff and visit with plumbers that hold the med gas. And take one final look at that and come back to us with a recommendation. Either we take action on it or let's just leave it alone. So, if you've got some comments, Darren has got, matter of fact, we have them in our board book today. All the comments that we received, on this med gas. So if you've got any feeling, Darren, I hope you don't mind, I say contact Darren. Please, if you got any feeling one way or the other and visit with him. And maybe at our next board meeting, Darren can come back to us and say, you know, here's the advantage to doing it, this is why we should do it. Or there actually is no advantage to it and we should leave it just like it is. So before we leave that alone, I thought it appropriate to let a guy that knows what he's talking about, that's Darren, who holds a med gas endorsement, review it before we make a decision on it. So thanks, Darren, for agreeing to do that. Appreciate it. So. And I think it's about 20 minutes till 12. That'll, Lisa?
So we can all be educated today. It's psychometrics.
Psychometrics, that's exactly what it is. Thank you.
It's analyzing and measurements and
Behavior.
weights and stuff like that.
Psychometrics, that's
Yeah.
exactly the term I was looking for. That's it. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. For those that looked it up. And the five text and I got, thank you.
We have to use it a lot in our deals.
I bet you probably do.
Yeah, we do, so,
You do.
yeah.
And you know, it's something
Yeah.
we've never really had the capability of doing it in a sophisticated manner, but Pearson few does.
Yeah.
So we regularly and reoccurrently do the psychometric testing on these test questions to see everybody is missing this one.
It's that first word that gets you cycle.
It is.
That's our motto, keeping the psycho.
Well, I
Well,
I'm gonna ask Kevin. That's right.
We have to deal with the same thing in our testing, so.
Yeah, and Neil used to be Neil would keep a spreadsheet. And Calvin was pretty good too, but Neil took it to the nth degree of, the spreadsheet of which one passed this and that, stuff like that. So, yeah, having it on computerized is
Right.
good.
You know, Kevin, and it's a little bit off the subject, but it's really not. Kevin and I have talked about this. Technology is wonderful. It has provided us beautiful things that we never thought we could do. But using technology, just for the sake of using technology, doesn't make sense. When you implement something from a technological standpoint, it's got to either reduce your cost, increase your efficiency. It's got to do something for your organization. It may be the neatest thing on the planet. But if you don't get some direct benefit from it, then you need to leave it alone. And I think that's how we're going forward with Kevin and Lisa on technology at the agency. There's some great neat things that we could do. But unless we derive a benefit from it, there's no use in doing it. So that's part of the analysis we use in determining what we're gonna use technology for and what we're not gonna use it for. And I think it's a good, rule of thumb to follow, so I know Kevin and Lisa are doing that, so. Okay, it's almost 11:45. Let's, we're gonna break for lunch, but also during our lunchtime, we're gonna have an executive session in accordance with 551.101 of the government code. And we're going to adjourn into executive session under government code 551.072 to discuss some
And-
real estate issues, as well as 551.074 to discuss, executive director pay. So those two items will be discussed during the executive session. And if any action is taken, we'll report it after the meeting is over. Let's plan on coming back here and meeting at 1:00. So we're gonna adjourn. Both Lisa Hill and Lynn Latone will be joining us in executive session. Lynn will be taking notes during that period of time for a record. So let's adjourn until 1:00. Here is Norma back on, or Norma's leaving. Norma's not gonna.
Oh, is she leaving?
We've got a quorum. Okay, it's 1:00. Call the meeting back to order. We've lost a couple of board members, but we still have a quorum here present with us. So we're gonna keep going. We have just come out of executive session. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve an increase in the executive director's compensation to $129,377 a year, effective as of September 1st, 2024.
Second. Second, I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Just for the public's information, the legislature during the last legislative session, passed a bill authorizing a 5% across the board increase for all employees up to a certain wage level. But they handle the executive directors individually. And basically something less than 5%, but it is an increase. We might not have had to take formal board action, but it's a belt and suspenders to make sure the controller doesn't come back 2 months later and say, well, the board never took action on it, so therefore it's not. So this is a part of what the last legislative session provided for our board members. Other than that, no other action was taken, voted on during the executive session. I guess we'll go now to Dan, welcome back. I understand you've been in a meeting with the controller, speaking of controller.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we have long meeting, so I'm glad it's finished, so.
Okay, well, why don't let's pick it up with item number 11, which is your financial report. And it would be tab 4.
My name is Dan Cruiser. I'm the finance director for the agency. And excuse me, I'll present the third quarter financial update for TSBPE. And if you all want to follow along, it's this page here. And on the first page of the financial report has the agency's fiscal year 24 appropriations and expenditures. And through the 9 months ending May 31st, 2024. And they're presented in 2 different formats. The 2 tables are pretty much the same information, like I said, just 2 different formats. The first one is by appropriation. So in the far left column, there's a listing of each appropriation and then the amount we've been appropriated. And so the total appropriations for FY24 was about 3.9 million. And so that's our budget for fiscal year 24. And through the 9 months ending May 31st, 2024, our total expenditures were right around 2.6 million. And that leaves us with around 1.2 million left over, for last quarter. So that's the first table. And then the second table is the exact same information except for it's by accounting classification. So it's by salaries and utilities and travel, all sorts of those sorts of categories. And you can see again our expenditures is 2.569 million, and we're estimating to spend 100% of our appropriations for FY24. And right now we're at right around 67.4% of our beginning appropriations that we spent. So I think that kind of puts us in a good position. That's sort of what we want to be. We don't want to really be over, 75% or right around there. We want to be a little bit lower. That way we know going to the final quarter that we have, what we have to spend, and we're not going to overspend for the year. So I think we're in good shape.
So in a perfect world, since we're through 3 quarters, that percentage would be 75% on the nose.
That's right.
In a perfect world.
Yeah.
So we're right on track, maybe a little ahead
Yes, sir.
on our expenditures. Good.
We have some expenditures that we know we're gonna have to spend money on in the fourth quarter, so I think we're good, having that extra money so that we can cover those expenditures. Are there any questions on that first page? All right, on the second page. We have list revenues for the first 3 quarters of fiscal year 24 by license type, along with the comparison of the prior year. So that gives us our revenue by, what we collect each license type. And we're at about 94% of what we did in FY23. So I think it's fairly close. And then the third page has our number of licenses that we've issued by license category. And then the final page has our revenues for the fiscal year compared to, 5 or 6 prior fiscal years. Any questions on any of that information?
No questions, but a comment to the board. We are required by statute to raise at least as much money as we spend in every biennium. So we can't spend 4 million and raise 3.5. We could raise 4.4 and spend 4, but we can't raise less. And once we do our legislative appropriation request, which is gonna add maybe another 20% to our budget, most likely at our next meeting, Lisa and Dan will put together some numbers for us, looking at our fee structure. Because we are gonna have to go into this session with some documentation that this money we're asking for, we're gonna be able to cover it in our own budget. So I'm not saying it's gonna go up or go down, but we're gonna have to at least do an analysis of our fee structure to make sure that we've got sufficient funds. And there's some inequities that need to be repaired that we've talked about for the years. There's some inequities in there that we need to address. So
That,
at our next meeting, you may see some fee discussions going on.
and we may have to do something contingent on an adjustment or something if they decide their purse strings are tied, whatever.
Yeah. Dan, I ask this just about every time, but is there anything in our current financial situation that's a red flag to you or a particular concern? Both either in expenditures or revenues?
No, nothing that I can see. I think we're in good shape. I think everything looks normal, good, comparable to prior years. And I think we're where we like to be.
Great,
Can I add something?
please, huh?
Dan's jumped in here and done a heck of a good job. He's part of the team, and I certainly hope he sticks around for a while. It boils a lot of stuff just to throw on him. I know it's a lot, but he's hung in there.
Well, you're too important, you can't leave, Dan.
He's hung in there.
It's not allowed. I mean, it's just, we've got a new policy. You may not be aware of it. You're not allowed.
If I can get him through this LAR, I know he's a keeper, you
Yeah,
know.
that's for sure. No, we do appreciate it, Dan. It's a lot to, it's a lot to comprehend in a short period of time, especially going into a legislative session. So,
Very good to work with, so it's, glad you're here.
great. Anything else or any questions having to do with the financials for Dan? Steve, I think we're to you, Mr. Enforcement.
Oh,
Where you will find starting out on tab 5, the sportsman's committee meetings report, which has to do with link reviews. As usual, we have the periods of time in which we're looking at the third quarter fiscal year 2024. Which we have dates. There were 7 total meetings that we had reviewing the complaints. Total number of complaints, cases reviewed, 204. Total number of administrative penalties imposed, 89, and then broken down into the types of alleged violations. I think if you go through and you pick out the ones that were related to unlicensed activity, we're looking at about 59.5% that relate to unlicensed activity. We went ahead and broke out the contracting and showing the ones that were involved in contracting out there. As far as the any licensees, registrants, or unlicensed individuals. Also, of course, we have some that do not end up in penalties. Recommendations for either voluntary compliance warning, unable to locate, no proof, no violation, no jurisdiction. And that's all for that report. If there's any questions.
Refresh my memory, under the column, it talks about contracting, master, journeyman, tradesman, apprentice. What does that mean, contracting?
Contracting plumbing without the proper license.
Okay,
Yeah.
so a master might be contracting without an RMP license, is that
Right.
what that would be?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
No questions, we're going to tab 6, which is reviews for applicants and also for renewal of application, ones that have had criminal convictions that have to be reviewed. Total number was 3 meetings, total number 110. Applications for examination, 3062. There were no denials on those. The renewal applicants, over 35 with 13 denial in order to vote. Anytime the revocation is going to be during the period of time in which they renewed that they had been incarcerated, so or found to have been incarcerated during the time that they had renewed or a license or registration. So by operation of law that they were, their license or registration was revoked. Again, that's 13, which total again of 110.
As we get to crunch time, like we talked about earlier in the meeting, that number is gonna go up. Because a lot of these folks that have got a criminal background, putting it off to the very last minute to do their fingerprinting, so.
Yeah.
I anticipate it's gonna keep going up. It's also reflected in the number of agreed orders that you did. There's a higher percentage of fraudulent material being submitted. I'm assuming that's saying I don't have a record and they've got a felony conviction.
Yeah, I don't know if it's more being, but we're catching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just so many that, and we anticipate a drop off eventually, at least to maybe a dull roar, hopefully, on just the ones that are applying. But right now, until everyone gets the fingerprints in and we go back and check and make sure, because like I said, a lot of them may have slipped through the cracks in the past, but now even years later, it's all catching up to them, so. It just increases the work on everyone and then even in the enforcement, which that's providing false information to the board, we have to address that.
Generally speaking, is that when you say providing false information to the board, is that saying you don't have a criminal conviction and you do?
Yeah, the question is usually gonna be, have you ever been convicted of a felony in this state or any other felony or misdemeanor in this state or any other state? And if they answer no to that and they had been convicted and hadn't gotten previous approval, then that kicks in the possible penalty stage.
Disciplinary action thing.
Right, and again, then they go through the same process as any complaint. We generate it, we contact them, get their response, and goes to board review.
Okay.
No questions?
No questions.
Tab 7. It's the field activity report. And this is field investigators activities for the third quarter. Totals are available there at the bottom. We show, of course, Robert Wilson, he signed on November 2nd, 2023. He's doing well. We've pleased with his progress. And if there's any questions on those, pretty self-explanatory as far as the numbers that are posted.
Just an observation, you've been busy bees this quarter, that's for sure.
Yeah, and then again, it's not all, everybody is on the same wavelength. Everybody's got different sets of complaints that they're working. No complaints the same. I mean, some take longer, some, they have to go out and visit job sites more. Meet with the complainants. Some are become priority 1. And they've got to go drop other complaints because they are priority 1. We have to make sure if it's a health and safety issue, we're gonna go, make sure we take care of that. A lot of interesting stuff has come up. So we're dealing with a lot of, you think you've seen it all, and then you wake up the next day and you you have, so.
I know you can't give us details, and I'm not asking for details, so refrain from giving. But are there any conclusion been reached on that Fort Worth explosion? And the local
There
authorities?
was by OSHA, they, evidently their statute of limitations had run out. Now this is according to a report or Fort Worth Star Telegram interview that they, I guess it was a press conference from OSHA, and I guess their investigation met its statute of limitations, and because of the way I understand it, the investigator became incapacitated or ill or whatever, and it didn't transfer to a new investigator. So that part of it, as far as the liability of the workplace, I think that investigation has ended, although it did say that the fire marshal still has not ruled on that cause.
OSHA is as efficient as Secret Service is, aren't they?
No comment.
Not touching that.
Yeah, we probably should,
I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry.
But anyway, so we did go ahead and make contact after that to the fire marshal's office and just send in another message, an email, and say, hey, can you give us some update? We're not keeping we're keeping the case open. The complaint investigation portion of it, we went ahead and closed that because all that does, by leaving it open, it doesn't help anybody other than just our numbers go, you know, terrible, shows a case, a complaint staying open. But we can close it with, from case staying open pending a final determination, and information from, you know, the fire marshal. Which will be adding the additional information, you know, that we got from the OSHA portion of it, but, we're still kind of waiting to see what that final determination is.
Some of these days, I'm gonna learn why it takes so long to come to a conclusion, or something like that, but not today.
Steve, we were informed that Delvin's leaving. Do we have a date yet, or is he already gone? I'm sorry? We were informed earlier today that Delvin is leaving. Yes. Has he already gone, or? No, he's at the end of this month. At the end of this month, okay. That was just a general question. Yeah, that's gonna be tough to fill. Delvin's a good investigator, good guy, so. Yes. There are no questions on tab 7. Tab 8 are the cease and desist orders. And these are issued typically in conjunction with a contracting for plumbing without the proper license, goes to unlicensed, or, you know, those that are not properly licensed to contract with the public. Those they're already signed by the executive director, so I don't believe there's any other.
Just information only for us.
Steve, I was gonna ask you, I noticed there seemed to be a lot in the Rio Grande Valley this time. Is that the result of the sting operation?
Yeah.
Good.
Yep, we had, I don't remember the total number, but, yeah, we had a lot of activity. And then not only that, we were able to go out for, at least a full day, and 3 of us checking the job sites. A couple of them had to do with complaints that were already in progress. Kind of helped Paul out on that one, and then, we just started doing some job site checks. And, yeah, I mean, every one of them had not, you know, usually you would go, you know, see that they're properly licensed and everything's, you know, and just maybe give some information, hand out some cards. No, not this time. They were, every one of them were in violation of some kind.
Wow. Good thing y'all went down.
Yeah, we'll be back, trust me. Now we are going to, we're working on a plan for, the Houston area, of course. I've already got 2 that have kind of started wandering out, but we're gonna be groups going out into that area, doing some job site monitoring, checking on contractors coming in. Of course, we got some good information because I got 2 field investigators that both went through the hurricane, and they're
they finally got their power back on and, you know, getting damages taken care of, but, we're keeping abreast of all the issues that are going on in the Houston area and, where it came in on the coastline. Tab 9 is, the board order. These are, penalties, that have been assessed and have been, payments have been received, so these are going over the board for approval. And I think there's 7 total pages, and then the final page would require signature, from the board chair. You know, Steve and I bitched about these a little bit before the meeting today. One thing that kind of caught my eye, my question to Steve is how there's a category employed an unlicensed or unregistered person for work requiring a license or registration. And it was against a tradesman and it was against a journeyman. And I couldn't figure out what we're doing. And Steve enlightened me that apparently journeyman and tradesmen form their own company and contract to an RMP. Which sounds kind of shady to me. And I'm gonna ask Lynn at some point to take a look at our, whatever rules we have, and I know I got the email from you, having to do with this contracting. Because a couple of things come to mind for me is an RMP is supposed to only provide RMP services for one company. And he might have several companies that he's the RMP for, if you've got a journeyman and a tradesman and so there's some things I'd like to look at in the future. I don't know that we'll do anything, but it's something that I think needs to be looked at. So I asked Lynn to kind of peel that onion back and maybe visit with Steve a little bit. But to go in a little bit, another part of the onion, so to speak, is we didn't discuss it. I really didn't think about it at the time, but the tradesman or journeyman can own a company. And then they have a responsible master, so it could be that also that owner of the company as a tradesman or journeyman was employed that individual. And then the responsible master may have been written for failure to supervise. Right. That's another scenario that might be out there too, but. I guess the thing that I'm having trouble getting my arms around, how can a journeyman or a tradesman own a plumbing company and not have an RFP?
I used to own a plumbing company and I don't have any license whatsoever.
Right, you don't have to have-
But you have an RFP working for me. He wasn't contract, he was, actually on.
Yeah. No, I get that. But these journeymen and tradesmen are actually owning companies and going to work on job sites as a subcontractor of an RMP. And I don't know. I just want to look at it and see, because there's something that doesn't seem exactly right there, but we won't get into the discussion right now, but heads up, we're gonna take a look at it. Sure, we got a good attorney it's something we need to take a look at. We may not do anything, but we'll come back to the board if there's something that needs to be discussed, so. And I understand it's a pretty common practice in the industry. These aren't outliers. That happens all over. Just on the surface, to me, it looks like a way to avoid paying payroll taxes, but I don't. What do I know? And then also there's the final page, is a previous, well, if you want to. We have,
Are we gonna make a motion?
I got it.
Great, thank you.
We're in default orders and we will need a motion, but before we do that, we've got 8 that should be removed from the default order list. These are 8 that got on the list that currently have a payment plan in process, so they are not default orders.
Are we on default or are we on the
Mr.
administrative?
Chairman, I think we need to. Well, I'm sorry, did we not get the board order? I'm sorry, I apologize. The board order needs.
Sorry, me too.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the board orders?
Move that we approve the board order as presented in tab 9 of our packet.
And authorize me to sign
And
on behalf
authorize
of
the
the
chair
board.
to sign on behalf of.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now we go forward. Sorry to jump the gun.
I didn't do that. I said I didn't do- actually, Ally, she got together all the default orders and submitted the pre-default letters. And so these are the default orders that we're presenting to the board for individual signature. So,
I think we've got a couple we have to remove from there.
Actually, there are 8, and I'm fixing to give them to everybody. There are 8 on this default order list that need to be removed. Robert Bowling, Rocky Calloway, Yancel Martinez, John D. Parkhill, Harvey Riley, Mohammed Shoaib, Gabriel Soliz, how do you say that? Solis. And Angela Wallace. Those, before we entertain a motion to approve these default orders and authorize the chairman to sign, take note and delete those from the list.
Were they already deleted? Because I'm looking at the exhibit in tab 10 and I don't see.
They're not in here.
They were deleted, but they were put on the agenda. So for
Okay,
sake
I
of
see.
clarity, we're saying,
Okay.
those should not have been put on the agenda, so.
Gotcha.
So is there a motion to approve the default orders and authorize me to sign on behalf of the board?
so moved.
Mr. Black, second.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. What you got, Steve?
I believe that's all. So,
You know, back to these default orders. I have them on my agenda, the ones that we deleted. What were you looking at?
I was.
They're
looking
on the tab, not on the tab.
Oh, okay, I follow the computer. They were not in the.
They're not on the
Gotcha.
table
I
with tab.
Okay. All right. I guess, do we have Brian available on?
yeah, he's there right now.
He is available and ready.
Can everyone hear me? Can everyone hear me?
You can, Brian, you're good.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brian Guerra. I'm the enforcement attorney for the State Board of Plumbing Examiners. And I want to report on a few cases that have been docketed at the SOA, at the State Office of Administrative Hearings. Hearings held with PFDs or proposals for decisions rendered. The cases in question are for Courtney J. Himes and Joseph Byron Green. Now, with regard to Courtney J. Himes, Mr. Himes was previously licensed as a journeyman plumber. His journeyman license was revoked by operation of law back in February of 2023 due to an incarceration. The incarceration stemmed from a conviction for a second-degree felony offense for unlawful carrying of a weapon by a felon. Mr. Himes falsely disclosed in his application to the board that this matter involved an incident where he took a firearm away from a family member outside his residence and was found by law enforcement to be in possession of that firearm. In actuality, the offense involved a situation where Mr. Himes was inside his residence that he shared with his grandparents. He was in a manic state of mind and was waving a loaded firearm around in the household. Mr. Himes' grandfather tried to disarm Mr. Himes from carrying the firearm, and in that process, Mr. Himes shot his grandfather in the arm. Then Mr. Himes proceeded to exit his residence and fired rounds towards a neighbor's property, damaging a fence as well as that neighbor's automobile, in addition to shooting his own dog in the face. Mr. Himes was convicted of this offense back in February of 2023 and sentenced to 2 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. Himes was released from prison back in July of 2023 and is serving the remainder of his sentence on parole with an estimated discharge date of August 9th, 2024. The hearing in this matter was held at SOA on April 10th, and the PFD issued on June 10th. In the proposal for decision, the ALJ concluded that the conviction for unlawful carrying of a weapon by a felon may be treated as an offense directly related to the trade of plumbing, based on the factors set forth in the Texas Occupation Code. Ultimately, the ALJ concluded that the staff demonstrated that the application submitted by Mr. Himes should be denied, and that his registration for a plumber's apprentice should not issue. Staff recommends that the board adopt the PFD as written, and I'm available for any questions in regard to Mr. Himes' case.
My first question, can you hear me?
I can,
Great.
sure.
Any questions? Just for the board's edification, the board has got the authority to adopt the administrative law judge's report as it is. We can reject it, or we can modify it going forward. In this particular case, first of all, let me ask, is Mr. Hines present, or is a representative of Mr. Hines here?
No,
Okay, the answer is no, he's not here. So we've got three options. We can adopt the PFD as it's proposed, as the administrative law judge recommended. We can modify it, or we can totally vacate it. In this particular case, the ALJ agreed with the position of the agency. So from my perspective, it would be appropriate
They agree that to
deny the license. On this particular case, on the Hines case, they agreed with the agency that the license should be denied. So a motion would be in order if you agree with that.
We accept the SOA recommendation for Courtney Himes.
Second. And just written, okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Got one more case.
Yes, thank you. This next case is in reference to a Joseph Byron Green. As in the previous case, Mr. Green previously held a journeyman's license beginning in 2008. That license was revoked by operation of law on June 4th, 2019 due to an incarceration. The incarceration stemmed from a conviction for sexual assault of a child, a second-degree felony. Mr. Green disclosed in his application to the board that this offense occurred in or about November 2011, when he was 27 years old and the victim was 16 years old. Green was convicted of this offense on July 12, 2013, and was sentenced to 7 years deferred adjudication community supervision. After about 6 years of being on deferred adjudication, Mr. Green was revoked from deferred adjudication on May 14th, 2019, and sentenced to 3 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. He was revoked due to failing to abstain from alcohol during his term of community supervision, as well as for failing a polygraph examination. Rather than continuing his deferred adjudication community supervision, Mr. Green chose to complete his sentence through incarceration, which is what the 3 years TDC resulted in. The hearing in this matter was held on March 21st, 2024, and the PFD was issued May 2nd, 2024. Now, in the PFD, the ALJ found that Green had no other significant criminal history in his record other than the offense in question, which was the second-degree felony offense of sexual assault of a child. The ALJ also found that Green provided proof of rehabilitation through letters of support, proof of drug and alcohol counseling, and providing evidence through a sexual offender evaluation report that Mr. Green was a below average risk of reoffending as compared to the general public. And that risk, according to the ALJ, was further mitigated and reduced because Mr. Green had undergone about 234 hours of specialized sexual offender therapy and treatment for the offense. The ALJ further found that it had been more than 12 years since the date of the offense in question, with no other criminal activity from Mr. Green. The ALJ ultimately concluded that based on the evidence provided in the hearing, Mr. Green was currently fit to perform the duties of a plumber and recommended that his registration for plumbers, a plumber's apprentice registration be approved. Now, I'm available to the board if any of the members have any questions.
Right, Brian, I do have a question. Number one, is Mr. Green or Representative Mr. Green present today?
No,
No, no word from him.
Brian, have you received word from Mr. Green?
I have not.
Brian, was there
Yes.
any testimony? And in our questions, this relates to the hearing that was held. Was there evidence that Mr. Green was using or under the influence of drugs during the hearing or alcohol?
The testimony, as I recall it, was that Mr. Green had indicated that at the time of the offense, back in 2011, he was abusing alcohol and drugs. But had since turned that around since being incarcerated and being on deferred adjudication or completing his incarceration with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice.
You know, I do take issue with the AOJ's conclusion, the findings, the facts and conclusions of law for a couple of reasons that I'd like to share with the board. And then we'll get comments from the board. She seems to, number one, he said he's been sober for 10 years. Well, failing or violating the terms of his probation by drinking is not staying sober for 10 years, and that happened in 2019. So I'm only assuming that the ALJ gave him quite a bit of deference by saying he's been sober from drugs. He just said he's been sober. So I would take issue with her that he's been sober for 10 years. He actually did. That's why he went to prison, is because of violating the terms of his parole. The other thing that's significant, she refers to, I believe in her findings, that it was provoked for failing the polygraph test. Well, he wasn't just revoked from his probation for failing the polygraph test. He was revoked for lying when he'd actually been drinking. So it's a little bit more than just failing a polygraph test. Someone might take issue with the validity of a polygraph test. But I think it's significant to know that he not only violated his terms of his probation, but he also lied about it and got caught on a polygraph. The length of time, I don't put as much credibility as the administrative law judge does during that period of time, that's 6 years that he was under community supervision. It's not like he was out on his own. He was required to come in weekly for drug and alcohol testing. He was required to, and by the way, he didn't voluntarily attend counseling. He was court ordered to attend counseling. So I don't necessarily, he doesn't get a lot of credit from me during that period of time that he was under close supervision and monitoring. The fact that he lied, the fact that he went back to prison, you get no credit for not violating your probation while you're in prison. For gosh sake, that's 3 years out of the 12. The other period of time, he was under community supervision. When he got out of prison in May, he applied in June, so no period of time passed. Also, Brian, I would ask you, is he currently under probation or any type of terms today?
No, Chairman, he's concluded his term of incarceration as of May 1st, 2022.
The other thing that the administrative law judge relied on was his completing this rehabilitative counseling. And by her own admission, he's not the same risk as a member of the public. It may be below average, but it's not a low risk. He's only below average. She, in her own conclusion, says it's going to be another 7 months before he's a period of time that has passed that would put him in the normal population.
Is he a registered sex offender?
He is a registered sex offender, as I understand it. Is that correct, Brian?
Yes, sir. For life.
So,
It presents another problem. I know what you're gonna say. Yeah.
I mean, that precludes him from holding a license, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't, it might preclude him from working on schools and daycare centers and things like that.
Right.
It does, I don't know that it would particularly preclude him from a license, but it certainly, an employer would have to think twice before they dispatched him out to work, so. Yes.
Question for either Lynn or Brian, I don't know who's most appropriate to answer this, but if we were to adopt this recommendation and grant this gentleman a apprentice card, would that then set precedent that could undermine other parts of our criminal background check process?
It could influence similar cases that come behind this case.
Okay. I feel like it sets a bad precedent. That's why I asked.
You know, and the things that I say, it's not because I don't want him to be successful. I pray for his rehabilitation. I hope he gets straight. I hope he does extremely well. But I think we have a greater obligation to protect the public than we do to issue a license.
That's our only obligation, really.
It is. And as much as I wish success for him, and just because you're turned down today doesn't mean you can't ever reapply and get a license. After he has spent a period of time and he has demonstrated that he's no further trouble, he's not under community supervision where somebody's checking on him every week, and he still does well, he'd still be eligible to apply again at some point down the road. But at this time, it would be my recommendation that we reject the administrative law judge's proposal for decision and deny the license.
I would like to make a motion to that effect.
Just a second, made a motion, Ron seconded, that the motion be denied and the findings of fact number 24, 25 be rejected, and the conclusions of law 10 and 11. There may be others, Lynn, that I'll ask you to look at based upon our discussion today. And so, did we vote on that? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So Lynn, any further findings of facts or conclusions of law that I've overlooked, if you would include that in our final decision, I would appreciate that.
Thank you. And can we go back for a moment on Mr. Hines? I don't think we heard that there was a second on Mr. Ainsworth's motion, accepting the PFD as it was presented. Can we go back and basically read that action on Mr. Hines?
No,
I did.
Oh, you did? Oh, very good. Thank you so much. All right.
So we had a motion and a second, we're okay.
Yeah, we're good.
I seconded it.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, and I believe that
We have public comment.
we're down to public comment. Anybody left?
Yes.
Mr. Mott, do you have something to say? Sure.
Yes, sir. Hey, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Just want to talk about agenda item number 13 and want to offer our services for any type of resource information we can help get this. We do have some information on why it's important to increase the hours from 24 to 32. And on behalf of the Texas plumber stakeholders, which makes up the majority of this industry, we're all in agreement that we should really look at this, since the board does recognize ASSE 6010. And currently that standard is getting implemented in contract documents by engineers all over the state. So it's something that's coming. We're seeing a lot more of it, and we'd just like the board and the ASSE both to have similar standards as far as the hours. And I'll be glad to offer service and get with you, Mr. Black. I know you're going to be heading this up, so.
yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mott.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate the comments and appreciate your willingness to help. Anyone else, Don, do we have?
No, sir.
We wore everybody else out.
Yeah.
That was the plan. I knew they would. Not really. We always appreciate the comments. Future meetings, it's the end of July. Maybe looking at the end of September, early October for our next board meeting. Part of that is gonna be the timing on our proposed rule that's gonna be posted. I'd like to go ahead and have that 30-day posting period done and our comments back. So the board can consider it before we do our next meeting. Like I said, we may look at some rate, preliminary numbers on our rates and fees in order to cover our expenditures for this coming biennium. As always, if there's anything else that the board members would like to put on the agenda, if you'll let Lynn or I know, we'll have to try to work that out, so. No further business, we're gonna call the meeting adjourned.